All right, let's talk deployment. Those easy-to-use platforms are fantastic, right up until the moment they're not. So today, we're going to skip the basics. We're going to take a normal MERN stock application and architect it on AWS, but we're going to do it the way a senior engineer would.
We all start with platforms like Vercel or Netlify. I mean, why wouldn't you? They're simple, they're fast, but what happens when your app starts to get serious? What if you need a custom WebSocket server for a live chat feature? Or maybe a background job that needs to run for, say, 20 minutes, not just 10 seconds. This is exactly where a lot of developers hit a wall.
And that wall has a name. We call it the platform ceiling. It's that frustrating point where all that convenience suddenly becomes a major limitation. You find yourself needing way more power, more flexibility, and just more control than the platform is willing to give you. And trying to work around it, it's not just a headache. It can get really expensive, really fast.
Yep, that's the pain point right there. One day, everything's humming along, and the next, you get this surprise bill for hundreds of dollars because your database usage went through the roof or you blew past your function execution limits. To really break through that ceiling for good, you've got to go to the source, Amazon Web Services.
Okay, I know, opening the AWS console for the first time is a lot. You're here with this list of over 200 different services, and it's super intimidating. But here's the secret, the thing they don't tell you. As a MERN developer, you only need to get really good at 3 of them. Just 3. That's it. This is the pros golden trio for building a truly scalable app.
First up is EC2. And the simplest way to think about EC2 is that it's just a computer. That's it. A computer in the cloud that you rent. This is where your Node.js and Express backend is going to live. And the real key here is that unlike a serverless function that dies after a few seconds, an EC2 instance runs 24/7. This is what gives you the power to run things like persistent WebSocket connections or scheduled cron jobs or any heavy-duty task without ever worrying about it timing out.
Okay, on to number 2, S3. So if EC2 is your computer, just think of S3 as your infinite external hard drive. It's a service built to do one thing and do it incredibly well: store files. We're talking user profile pictures, uploaded documents, videos, whatever. Anything your users create that needs to be saved permanently, it goes here. It's ridiculously cheap and built to last forever.
Now this right here, this is such a critical difference. A huge mistake a lot of junior developers make is they save user uploads right into a folder on the EC2 server. The problem? That storage is temporary. If that server ever needs to restart or you have to replace it, poof, all those files are gone. Forever. The pro fix is to have your React app upload files directly to an S3 bucket. This totally separates your application logic from your file storage, which makes your whole system way more reliable and, most importantly, keeps your users' data safe.
So we have our computer and we have our hard drive. But what about the M in MERN? Where's our database? Okay, here is a massive pro tip. Unless you happen to be a database security expert, do not, I repeat, do not try to host your own MongoDB on an EC2 instance. It's an absolute nightmare to secure properly. The industry standard, what everyone does, is use a managed service like MongoDB Atlas. The best part is, it already runs on AWS infrastructure. You just tell it your EC2 instance's IP address, it whitelists it, and you have a secure connection. It's reliable, it's scalable, and it lets you get back to writing code.
So, we've got our infrastructure all mapped out. Great. But how do we actually get our code from our laptop onto that shiny new EC2 server? Well, this is another one of those areas that really separates the juniors from the seniors.
I really can't say this strongly enough. If you are still manually dragging and dropping files using an FTP client, please stop. You're using old, slow, and really error-prone methods. There is a much better way to do this. It's called CI/CD.
This is what a modern professional deployment pipeline looks like. And the best part? It's completely automated. It all starts when you do a git push to GitHub. That push automatically kicks off something called a GitHub action, which is really just a script you write. That script then securely logs into your EC2 server, it pulls down your latest code, it runs npm install to grab any new packages, and then it gracefully restarts your node server using a tool like PM2. PM2 is great because it keeps your app running, even if it crashes. The whole thing is fast, it's reliable, and you can do it 100 times a day without thinking.
Now I know exactly what you're thinking. This all sounds amazing, but isn't AWS just crazy expensive? That's probably the #1 fear that keeps developers away, and it's time we completely bust that myth.
Believe it or not, for your first 12 months, you can build this entire professional-grade infrastructure for exactly $0. You just have to be smart about how you use the AWS free tier.
Let's actually look at the numbers. For EC2, you get 750 hours a month of what they call a T2.micro instance. Now, since there are only about 730 hours in a month, that means you can run one server 24/7 all month long for free. For S3, you get 5 gigs of storage. That's enough for thousands and thousands of images. And on top of all that, MongoDB Atlas has its own really generous permanent free tier. This is way more than enough to run a portfolio site or even a pretty solid small to medium-sized application for absolutely nothing.
So how do you actually start? We've talked about the what and the why. Now let's get to the fun part, the how. Here is a super simple 3-step mission to get you from theory into practice.
Seriously, don't be afraid of the AWS console. Your only goal here is to get a quick, small win. First, just launch a basic EC2 instance. I recommend choosing the Ubuntu image. Second, SSH into your new cloud computer and install Node.js, just like you would on a brand new laptop. And finally, just clone a simple Express project from your GitHub and run it. I'm telling you, that moment you see your API responding from a real IP address that you actually own, it is a total game changer.
And at the end of the day, once you get a taste of this level of control, this freedom to build literally whatever you can imagine without hitting some artificial ceiling, it'll change how you think. You'll have the foundation of a real senior-level skill, and you'll never, ever want to go back to a restrictive platform again. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with all this new power?